Welcome to Health 2660. Here, we don't just talk about health, we tell the stories that heal. Now, please listen to the story. Margaret, a woman etched with the gentle lines of 67 years well lived, found profound comfort in the predictability of her evenings. A retired librarian, she had cultivated a routine as meticulously catalogued as the Dewey Decimal System itself. Dinner arrived promptly at 6, a simple, wholesome affair rarely deviating from baked chicken and steamed vegetables. Dessert followed, a small indulgence, usually a sugary cookie or a slice of pie, a sweet reward for a life dedicated to the quiet order of books. The nightly news, a ritualistic scan of the world's headlines, both soothing and unsettling, filled the television screen until 8. A hot, steamy shower washed away the day's anxieties, preparing her for the ultimate sanctuary. Her bed always by 9, peaceful, safe. That's what her evening routine was and meant to her, and she was very pleased with it. It was a sense of accomplishment for her. She had spent her younger years working hard and dealing with a lot of stress. Now that she was retired, she just wanted a normal life. Everything was fine. She was living a very normal life, it seemed. But the normal life did not last. One night, the carefully constructed edifice of Margaret's evening routine crumbled. She awoke with a jolt, gasping for air, as if she had been plunged into icy water. Her heart hammered against her ribs, a frantic drumbeat of alarm, and a vice tightened around her chest, stealing her breath. It wasn't the sharp, searing pain she associated with a heart attack from the public service announcements. It was a dull, persistent ache, accompanied by a terrifying sense of suffocation. Fear, cold and clammy, gripped her. She fumbled for the bedside lamp, her trembling fingers barely able to switch it on. The sudden glare banished the darkness, but not the dread that coiled within her. She sat up slowly, cautiously, afraid of triggering another wave of panic. After what felt like an eternity, the racing of her heart subsided to a less frantic pace, and the tightness in her chest eased. But the memory of that terror lingered, a dark shadow lurking in the corners of her mind. The next morning, still shaken, Margaret made an appointment with her doctor, Dr. Emily Carter, a young, compassionate woman who had taken over the practice from Dr. Peterson, Margaret's physician for over 30 years. Dr. Carter listened patiently as Margaret described the events of the previous night, her voice still wavering slightly. Dr. Carter ran a battery of tests, an electrocardiogram, a stress test, blood work, all designed to detect any underlying cardiac abnormalities. The results came back normal. "Your heart is structurally sound, Margaret," Dr. Carter said, reviewing the reports. "There's no evidence of blockages or any other significant issues. But," she paused, tapping her pen against the clipboard, "your heart rhythm is a little erratic, and your blood pressure spikes at night." Margaret frowned. "But I feel fine most of the time. Just a little tired, maybe." Dr. Carter nodded. "That fatigue is a symptom, Margaret. It's your heart working harder than it should, especially during the night. And it's not a new medication that you need. It's your evening routine." She explained the surprising truth that Margaret's cherished evening habits, the very things she believed were bringing her peace and comfort, were subtly, insidiously stressing her heart. What felt harmless, even beneficial, was in fact silently exhausting her cardiovascular system every night. Margaret was stunned. Her evening routine was so consistent that it was as much a part of her as anything else. "That's just not true," Margaret said, but Dr. Carter explained further. "Lying down immediately after dinner was slowing down digestion, putting pressure on your diaphragm and subsequently your heart. That sugary dessert was causing dangerous blood sugar spikes right before sleep, forcing your heart to work overtime to regulate your blood sugar levels. Watching the nightly news, with its constant barrage of bad news and political turmoil, was triggering the release of stress hormones, keeping your heart on high alert when it should be relaxing and preparing for sleep. And skipping a trip to the bathroom before bed was increasing your nighttime blood pressure, as your bladder filled and put pressure on your system. Margaret stared at Dr. Carter, her mind reeling. Her evening routine, the comforting ritual that had defined her retirement, was actually harming her. She had no idea. The life she had thought was normal was actually killing her. She was in shock. She had dedicated her life to learning, to reading, to knowledge. How could she have missed something so obvious? How could she have been so blind to the subtle dangers lurking within her own habits? So, what do I do? Margaret asked, her voice barely a whisper. Dr. Carter smiled reassuringly. Small changes, Margaret. That's all it takes. You don't need to overhaul your entire life. Just a few tweaks to your evening routine can make a world of difference. Dr. Carter suggested a light walk after dinner to aid digestion, swapping sugary desserts for a piece of fruit, replacing the nightly news with calming music or an audiobook, and making sure to use the bathroom right before bed. She also emphasized the importance of deep breathing exercises and mindfulness techniques to reduce stress and promote relaxation. Margaret left Dr. Carter's office feeling a mixture of disbelief and determination. She couldn't believe that her simple evening routine could be so detrimental to her health, but she was also determined to take control and make the necessary changes. That very evening, Margaret embarked on her mission to reclaim her heart health. After dinner, instead of settling in front of the television, she laced up her walking shoes and ventured out for a leisurely stroll around her neighborhood. The crisp evening air filled her lungs, and the gentle rhythm of her footsteps soothed her mind. She noticed the vibrant colors of the setting sun, the cheerful chirping of the birds, and the friendly waves of her neighbors. It was a world she had been too preoccupied to notice before. Instead of a sugary cookie, she savored a juicy pear, its sweetness satisfying without the guilt. And, instead of tuning in to the nightly news, she put on a CD of classical music, letting the soothing melodies wash over her. Before climbing into bed, she made a trip to the bathroom, ensuring her bladder was empty. That night, Margaret slept more soundly than she had in months. There were no racing heartbeats, no tightness in her chest, no gasping for air. She awoke feeling refreshed and energized, ready to face the day. She continued to follow Dr. Carter's advice, making those small changes to her evening routine. She walked every evening, ate fruit instead of cookies, listened to calming music, and emptied her bladder before bed. Slowly but surely she began to feel better. Her energy returned, her sleep improved, and most importantly, her heart felt calmer, stronger. After a week, she was really feeling much better about herself. A month later, Margaret returned to Dr. Carter's office for a follow-up appointment. The tests showed a significant improvement in her heart rhythm and blood pressure. "You're doing great, Margaret," Dr. Carter said, beaming. "Your heart is thanking you." Margaret smiled, a genuine smile that reached her eyes. "I feel like I've been given a new lease on life," she said. "I didn't need a new medication. I just needed better habits." Margaret didn't become a public speaker or a YouTube creator. But in her quiet way, she made a lasting change in her own life and shared what she learned with those around her. She often talked to friends over tea about how small things made a big difference. She encouraged her neighbor to walk with her in the evenings. She helped her book club switch out cookies for fruit. And each night, before bed, she followed her new routine, grateful for the peace it brought her body and her heart. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't loud, but it was real. Margaret had taken control of her health one evening at a time. And for her, that was more than enough. Health 2660 thanks you for listening. We'll see you in the next video, and until then, be kind to yourself.